Having received no response yet from Whitman, Henry had to temporarily shift his focus from that issue. He considered the incident important, but moved it slightly down the priority list, awaiting further developments. In the meantime, he tackled more immediate concerns. He dispatched delegations to other countries, each bearing a handwritten letter from him, to gauge foreign perceptions from the Western Empire. Simultaneously, he consulted with his advisors about increasing the defense budget, preparing for any unforeseen events. These were sensitive issues, requiring a careful and strategic approach. Perhaps the weight of these responsibilities explained why Henry, usually so full of energy at night, fell asleep as soon as his head hit the pillow. Watching him sleep, I was moved by a tender impulse to hold him. "You've been exhausted, you look handsome." I hesitated for a moment before moving closer to him. Resting my head on one hand, I used the other to gently trace his features. He's so charming, dangerously so. As I lightly blew on his eyelashes, Henry's eyelids twitched. He frowned, burying his face into the pillow. How lovely. I ran my fingers through his hair, reveling in its softness. I paused momentarily as I softly kissed his forehead, worried I might awaken him. Upon confirming that he was still asleep, I continued to caress his cheeks and eyes, lost in thought as I gazed at him. Looking at Henry, a mixture of emotions swirled within me. His peaceful demeanor and sleep contrasted sharply with the burdens he carried in his waking hours. In these quiet moments, away from the demands of ruling an empire, I saw him not just as my king, but as a man, vulnerable and endearing. My affection for him deepened, tangled with a sense of protectiveness and admiration. In the dim light of our chamber, with the world outside our door, I cherished these rare moments of intimacy and quietude. Henry's eyes slowly opened. "Good evening, Your Majesty." It was then that I noticed something alarming. Where Henry had been lying, a patch of ice had formed, its blue-white colour stark against the sheets. "Henry? Something has happened. What is this?" I cautiously got out of bed, my mind racing with fear and confusion. Was this the work of an intruder? An unseen enemy who had targeted only Henry's side of the bed with this strange frost?
"It's okay. Tell me what's happened."
I was astonished to see Henry with his hair covered in white ice, as though he'd been through a snowy field. Henry shook the ice out of his hair, then looked at the bed where he'd been lying, and back at me. His expression was unreadable.
"It looks like your body is slowly beginning to change."
My body?
Like I told you, the magic could circulate through your body with the help of this bed. And me.
Henry carefully took my hand, the one I had used to stroke his hair. "You mean that ice was made by me?"
"I think it was."
As he examined my hand, I did the same. A cool sensation appeared. There was no ice on my hand, nor did it feel excessively cold.
"Can you do it again?"
I shook my head. All I had been doing was affectionately caressing Henry as he slept. The idea of deliberately causing such a phenomenon was beyond my comprehension. "Are you sure I did it?"
"Yes."
"Henry, this is impossible. It must have been you."
"No, absolutely not."
Henry slowly released my hand, a smirk forming on his lips.
"Well, we need to be careful. You may bring upon a nickname if others discover this."
"A nickname?"
"They'll call you the Ice Queen."
I was taken aback. The Ice Queen. It was a title that held both awe and a hint of fear. That night, excitement coursed through me, rendering sleep impossible. The idea that I might have used magic was exhilarating and surreal. I had never aspired to be a mage, yet the possibility of becoming one now thrilled me beyond words. At breakfast, I was so lost in these thoughts that I barely noticed the food in front of me.
If you can't use it naturally, it hasn't fully manifested yet. Right now, the magic must still be developing into the most suitable ability for you.
The most suitable ability? Does that mean that the most suitable ability for me is ice? Am I truly a cold person? Henry's theory about magic seeking the most appropriate ability for me lingered in my mind. Was ice a reflection of my inner self? Was there a part of me that was as cold and sharp as the ice that had formed on Henry's side of the bed? Had Aldrich been right about me always being so cold? But it was your hair and the side of your bed that was frozen.
You're right about that. Anyway, you can't tell if it's ice, snow, or water until it fully manifests.
As I tried to steady my rapidly beating heart, Henry's voice broke through my thoughts, tinged with a hint of concern.
Having the guidance of an expert can be beneficial to hone your ability, even if only for a short time.
I remembered Henry's time at the Magical Academy. He had sought guidance there, despite not being a regular student. You're right. I think it would be best if I went to the Magical Academy.
A few days later, the secretary Aldrich had dispatched to Wirral to inquire about Schuyler's necklace returned. His expression was rigid, reflecting the frustration of his encounter. Dean Edgar says a sponsor sent that necklace to Schuyler, but he refused to reveal the person's identity. It was evident from the secretary's demeanor that he had attempted to exert pressure on the dean, but to no avail. Dean Edgar's steadfast silence only heightened the secretary's displeasure. He's good at keeping his mouth shut. Aldrich spun the quill in his hand, intrigued. The difficulty in obtaining the information only increased its value in his eyes. He was determined to extract the information from the dean, by force if necessary. I'll have to personally go to Wirral. Aldrich was well aware that Wirral, despite operating autonomously, remained under Elisaria's dominion. He planned to remind the dean of this reality, that their autonomy was a courtesy extended by the king, not a reflection of its lack of power. After the secretary's departure, Aldrich summoned Baron Lant to review his schedule. Since taking over Bronwyn's responsibilities, Aldrich's workload had increased significantly, leaving him with little free time. Is it possible to rearrange my schedule? I need to go to Wirral. There are several items on the schedule that cannot be postponed, but I think this item can be changed. As Aldrich and Baron Lant were deeply engrossed in their discussion, another secretary, Count Perdue, entered the room, bringing news that demanded immediate attention. Your Majesty, a member of the Finance Ministry is here. If it is not urgent, tell him to come back later. I don't know if it is urgent, but he made a strange request. A strange request? Apparently, someone tried to counterfeit the old promissory notes issued by the Finance Ministry. Aldrich's brow furrowed at this news. Baron Lant, equally surprised, turned to listen more closely. Fortunately, the situation didn't escalate because they were old promissory notes. I see. To prevent similar incidents, the Finance Ministry plans to replace higher denomination promissory notes with new ones, incorporating a more secure method. The promissory notes used by Your Majesty are included in this category and can be replaced in just one day. Considering that these promissory notes weren't needed immediately, Aldrich saw no reason to delay their replacement. All right, proceed with the replacement. The representative from the Finance Ministry was escorted back under the watchful eyes of the Imperial Guard. Once the man confirmed Aldrich's approval of replacing the promissory notes, he left and the knights departed. Inside his office, the finance minister meticulously began his task. He opened the envelope containing the promissory notes and then retrieved a pair of special glasses designed to identify notes issued to the imperial family.
Indeed, these are all imperial family promissory notes.
He then cross-referenced these notes with the account book of issued promissory notes and the detailed usage report, checking and rechecking the numbers and amounts 4 times over.
It seems Queen Rose did use the promissory notes from Bronwyn.
There was no distinction between the promissory notes of the Queen and the King. However, the dates and total amounts of King Aldric's notes aligned perfectly, ruling them out as the source. The only logical conclusion was that Queen Rose had been using the former Queen Bronwyn's funds as if they were her own.
Queen Rose is truly wicked.
His thoughts turned to Bronwyn, who had been divorced due to Queen Rose's machinations. The idea that Rose would then brazenly use Bronwyn's funds to bolster her own reputation was particularly reprehensible to him.
This must be known. She will turn Elisaria to ruins.
Julian sat in the office of the finance minister. The summons he had received was quite an uncommon one, and he sat, quill and parchment in hand, ready to soak up whatever information he was about to receive. As a scribe, he had a duty to share noteworthy information with the people of his country, and as of late he had learned that there were many secrets that the public deserved to know. "You sent for me?"
I did. You look tired.
"I have been exceedingly busy."
Busy collecting information to craft articles against Queen Rose?
Julian looked up with a fierce expression.
"So, it appears the finance minister fervently supports Queen Rose. Rumours speak of a strong alliance between you two."
Think again.
Julian, perplexed, cocked his head in bewilderment, gripping the quill firmly.
I expected more from you. You are a renowned scribe, yet it seems you cannot discern friend from foe.
Julian realized that perhaps, instead of exercising fervent support for the Queen, the minister was insinuating that Julian should be careful to assume him one of her allies. His curiosity was piqued.
"I apologize. Perhaps my judgment was a bit hasty."
The finance minister laughed, turning his chair away, and nodded at his secretary, who discreetly closed the door. Julian repositioned his parchment, thirsty for what was coming next. The president leaned forward.
Queen Rose stirred controversy at her wedding by pledging 20 million crowns in promissory notes. Do you recall?
How could I forget? I praised her for a week. It is the sole commendable act she has undertaken as queen.
Do you know whose promissory notes those are?
Are they not from Queen Rose?
The finance minister remained silent.
Did the king seek to enhance his wife's standing?
The king has not utilized those promissory notes.
Julian blinked in bewilderment.
But who else would even be able to? Oh my! You must not be serious. The promissory notes belong to Queen Bronwyn.
I did not say anything. But I believe you now know what your next publication will be about.
The truth shall be laid bare for the people.
Julian's hands trembled as he began to write. The world he thought he knew had turned upside down.
And whatever you do, make it clear. The finance ministry and Queen Rose have no connection. Draw a clear line.
Understood. The ink shall be wielded judiciously, Minister.
Remember, Julian, sometimes the truth is a double-edged sword. Choose your strokes wisely.
Julian nodded, absorbing the gravity of those words, as he continued to transcribe the revelations that would soon be exposed to the public eye. Queen Rose sat in her armchair, attended by maids who brushed her hair and washed her face with a soft cloth. As they continued to pamper her, Rose took a pamphlet from another maid to read. The maid's expression was notably peculiar, but Rose didn't think much of it. She assumed there would be some interesting news. After a while, Rose's hands trembled as she read the newspaper. The trembling gradually spread throughout her body.
Your Majesty.
Kaya looked at the Queen in surprise as she combed her hair. Rose's face was as white as snow.
Your Majesty. My belly! My belly!
The parchment Rose had held in her hands fell to the floor. Kaya's gaze shifted to the article that raised suspicions about the Queen's promissory notes. Her eyes widened for a moment, but as Rose's body swayed, the maid took her eyes off the pamphlet and held her. Rose began to scream in pain as her entire face was drenched in cold sweat. Suddenly, she collapsed completely.
The doctor! The palace doctor! Bring the palace doctor!
Aldrich had sent one of his servants to bring Rose to his room. However, the servant informed him that Rose adamantly refused, prompting a cold mutter from Aldrich. Always using the baby as a shield. Though he hadn't expected her compliance, he was surprised that she consistently resorted to the same excuse. Baron Lant sat in the corner of the room, reading over some royal documents. The king began to speak to him. After the baby is born, I will assign a nursemaid to take care of it. I'll need someone to take care of the baby when I can't. Won't Queen Rose care for the baby when you're occupied? Do you intend to handle the upbringing entirely? Your Majesty, forgive my boldness, but won't the people expect a more hands-on approach from their sovereigns? The royal family, like the nobility, isn't typically involved in child-rearing, and regardless, the expectations of the people are fickle. They may yearn for tradition one moment and embrace change the next. Certainly, Your Majesty, yet the image of a loving family often resonates with the public. I have found that the most powerful images are those shrouded in a touch of mystery. The throne demands sacrifices, Baron Lant. Sacrifices for the greater good, even if it means entrusting the care of a child to another. As you command, Your Majesty. I shall make the necessary arrangements for the nursemaid. And we must find the slave certificate as soon as possible. Aldrich turned towards the crackling fire and rested his forehead on his clasped hands. He had saved Liliana to silence Viscount Rothescue, and he had contingency plans for the slave certificate, but finding and destroying it seemed the best course. Suddenly, a secretary burst into the room. How dare you enter without permission?
Your Majesty, the Queen is going into premature labor.
Premature labor? Aldrich rushed out. heading straight to the Western Palace. In the midst of her second delivery, Rose realized the pain was the same, regardless of where she gave birth or what status she held. Crying out and writhing, she endured the agonizing pain, her insides shuddering.
It must be a boy! It has to be a boy! Whatever it is, it will be yours, my queen.
But Rose knew that her relationship with Aldrich had changed. Everything was riding on this child being the next king. Aldrich needed a successor, and then he would still need her too.
It has to be a boy! I will not get a second chance!
Beside her, Viscountess Amelia exclaimed with joy.
Your Majesty, it's a really beautiful baby. Is it a boy?
Viscountess Amelia's smile turned rigid.
It's a girl. A beautiful baby girl.
Disappointment engulfed Rose as tears spilled down her cheeks.
This can't be. It had to be a boy.
A deep sense of despair welled up within her. Clutching her head, she shuddered with vague anxiety. The labor pains subsided, but her heart ached.
Your Majesty, look at the baby.
Rose shook her head, and the baby cried again as Viscountess Amelia rocked her. Kaya approached gently.
Your Majesty, the king asked if he may come in. He's been waiting for hours.
Rose, wiping her tears, stretched her arms.
Give me the baby.
The baby calmed in Rose's arms.
Tell His Majesty to come in.
Rose? Suppressing tears, Rose smiled at him.
Your Majesty, she is truly a beautiful baby.
Aldrich approached, and Viscountess Amelia handed the new baby to him gently. Tears welled in his eyes. Beautiful. A beautiful girl. He caressed the baby's skin with immense love, tears streaming down his face. Hello, Beatrice.
Our family was gathered to celebrate my brother's triumphant return after resolving the issue with the eternal 1,000 bandits. Our revels were interrupted when a secretary entered the room and quietly stepped forward to address Henry.
Your Majesty, may I speak with you for a moment? I bear news from Elisaria.
News from Elisaria? I looked at Henry expectantly.
Any news from Elisaria is to be shared with my family as well.
The secretary shifted uncomfortably. I knew the news would not be good. Our joyous atmosphere was shattered the moment he shared the news of Rose's childbirth. I observed my family's faces contorting in various ways. The timing couldn't have been worse. The celebration of my brother's return crumbled, and my parents and brother left quietly.
If she gave birth already, that must mean it was a premature baby. Am I right?
Yes, Your Majesty. It was a girl. A princess.
This time, the secretary's gaze shifted to me. I maintained an expressionless face and walked away casually.
Thank you.
Finally, the secretary left us. I looked at Henry, and he held me. There was nothing more we needed to say. Later, I sat in my chamber with my ladies-in-waiting and Lady Nadine, who shared more details about the child's birth. The Queen was reading the details of the latest publication about her. It seemed to have sent her into a mode of such stress that her body delivered the baby prematurely. What was the nature of this publication? Lady Nadine looked down, and I felt a knot in my stomach. I knew instantly it must have had something to do with me. We had all heard that the woman had donated a huge sum of money to a charity at her wedding. Apparently, suspicions have been raised that this money might actually have come from you, Your Majesty. The incident of the promissory notes I'd uncovered to protect my parents had shocked Rose so much that she gave birth prematurely, but I didn't think that could possibly be the only reason. Pleasant news, don't you think, Your Majesty? I suppose. Lady Nadine, unaware of my involvement in uncovering the promissory notes, smiled with satisfaction at the unfolding events. A strange feeling consumed me. For the first time, unintentionally, I had hurt Rose. I wondered how Aldrich would react if he found out it was me. Is the baby healthy? She's a healthy baby girl, just a little small. Aldrich must be very happy to have gotten what he wanted most. My face contorted into a smile, but not one of joy. It was one of disgust, of helplessness. For Aldrich, the baby symbolized the happy family he wanted to protect, even if it meant getting rid of me. And for me, that baby was what drove us apart, and almost dragged me to the bottom. I knew it wasn't the newborn baby's fault, but I couldn't feel happy. In truth, the news left me more exhausted than anything else. I must have fallen asleep on the armrest of the couch I was on, because when I opened my eyes again, Lady Nadine and my ladies-in-waiting were nowhere to be seen. There was an eerie darkness shrouding me. Lady Nadine? Countess Julia? Matilda? Laura? I was confused. I must have slept too much. I felt like a failure of a queen, sleeping on the job. I was far too relaxed in my new kingdom. A queen should not behave like this. I left Elisaria behind in body. I must also have left it in spirit. But just then, I noticed a golden feather through a half-open door. Majesty? I stood up, wondering why my king was in bird form, and why he was hiding. But just as I stood up, the feather vanished. I smiled coyly. So, you want to play hide-and-seek? I began to follow him playfully, with slow, deliberate steps. I held back laughter as he waddled ahead of me, until his footsteps became clear to me. They were not playful. They were filled with fear. I quickened my pace, and Majesty flapped his wings, speeding up even more. I had to catch him. I lifted my skirt and ran after him, through the long corridors and down a spiral staircase. I became filled with panic. Where was he taking me? Why was the palace so empty? There was not a guard, not even a light in sight. Where are you taking me? He finally stopped outside of the throne room. Why are we here? He extended a wing ominously towards the throne, and I turned my head to follow where he wanted me to look. There was a colossal eagle clinging to the throne, as if for dear life. What was it doing there? Was it trying to usurp my husband? Shoo! Begone, get out of here! But the eagle just stared back at me. Its eyes were violet, like Henry's, but it was not Henry. I stepped towards it and tried to push it off the throne. It landed softly on the ground, surprisingly putting up no fight. To my surprise, it began to shrink. It was once nearly the size of the throne, but was becoming rapidly smaller and smaller, smaller than Majesty himself, and then nearly the size of an egg. His feathers turned cream-like, a colour similar to my skin. It resembled a small baby. It kept becoming whiter and whiter until it sat there, an egg, beside the throne. Bronwyn, Your Majesty? I looked around, and suddenly I was back in my room, on my armchair. The eagle was gone. Lady Nadine was shaking me awake. Are you all right? Where? The eagle. It was a dream, Your Majesty. Just a dream. It was a remarkably vivid dream. I looked past Lady Nadine, remembering the details of the dream. Although impossible, they also felt impossibly real. You've slept nearly until dinner time. We must ready you. I felt quite out of sorts at dinner that evening. But what was even stranger was what Henry had to share with me.
I fell asleep working, haunted by a strange nightmare.
What nightmare?
I possessed a collection of jewels.
Did you really? It was a known fact. Henry, enamoured with jewels, presumed his country the jewel capital. Rare gems adorned his rooms, but no smile broke across his face.
Cleaning the jewels, I found an unfamiliar egg.
An egg?
Gold mixed with green, prettier than jewels. I cleaned it, warmed it, and a baby bird emerged.
A baby bird?
Feathers and tiny wings. Lovely. I held it against my chest, but it craved jewels. Terrifyingly, I gave it all of them.
Shivers went down my spine.
The bird grew enormous after feasting on the jewels. Suddenly the setting shifted. The colossal bird coiled around my throne, seeking my jewels. Annoyed, I turned to my queen for help.
The sense of déjà vu intensified.
I managed to divert the bird with my queen's help. Could it be a premonition of hidden intentions against me?
I don't know, but I had a similar dream.
What? Really?
As I shared my dream, Henry's eyes widened. They were not the same, yet eerily alike. The dreams hinted at a dark connection.
A shared dream implies a baby is on the way.
That's absurd.
But a baby eagle appeared. Isn't that significant, my queen?
Not at all. But even I could hear that my denial resonated with a chilling certainty.
It could be that you're pregnant, my queen.
He held his breath with silent hope, and I could not help but shake my head. The more hope one has, the more painful the disappointment.
My queen, why don't you seem excited?
I am, but don't get your hopes up too much, Henry. The next day, after breakfast, Henry called the palace doctor. As the doctor examined me, Henry watched anxiously. Even the shadows in the room danced with quiet anxiety. I was nervous, and distracted myself with thoughts of Rhett, expanding the empire, which naturally brought me back to the idea of pregnancy. There was no escaping it. The doctor's hand descended to my belly. I stared at his lips as he slowly opened his mouth to speak.
Baron Lant, shrouded in his own despair, let out a weary mutter. The baby His Majesty so fervently fought for turned out to be a princess. His voice, laden with a darkness that echoed through the chamber, hung in the air like a curse. A princess. Not just a princess, but a relinquished dream, an abandoned hope. It was true that Aldrich would have gladly welcomed a princess born under ordinary circumstances, but for this one, he had sacrificed an extraordinary queen. The sacrifice cast a haunting shadow over Baron Lant's countenance. His expectations had soared, higher than the towers of the royal palace, fueled by the promise of a successor bearing royal blood. The echoes of that promise now shattered, reverberating through the very walls of the chamber.
This princess, born in the throes of unconventional circumstances, is a symbol of loss for Elasaria.
The baby, once wrinkled and reddish, transformed into a vision of haunting beauty. Silky hair, black eyes, well-defined features, a creation of both awe and despair. She was the most beautiful baby Baron Lant had ever seen. Yet what Aldrich needed now was not a mere beauty. No, he required a successor adorned with health and intelligence. Torn between sorrow and discontent, he found himself compelled to voice his concerns directly to Aldrich.
Your Majesty, will you have a second child with Rose?
The question, pregnant with the knowledge of Rose's impending downfall, resonated in the dimly lit chamber. Aldrich, cradling the baby in his arms, shook his head, a gesture that invited impatience, like the tolling of a mournful bell.
May I suggest that you divorce Rose? Bring forth a lady from an honorable family to bear the prince.
His words were laced with urgency, but Aldrich ignored him as Beatrice touched his cheeks with her small hands.
If a new queen is crowned, this baby will find herself in a difficult position. Do you really intend to keep Rose in power?
Of course not. If a quick divorce is not possible,
Yes?
I'll have to employ a harsher method.
Well, then who will give birth to the prince?
Aldrich looked at him.
You cannot be serious, Your Majesty. You don't really expect Bronwyn to...
I will never stop hoping that she will return. But whether she does or not, I will not crown a new queen.
Well, then who will rule after you?
Beatrice has my blood.
But...
I will raise this baby as my successor, Baron Lant. The proclamation, laced with a determination to forge a new destiny, hung like a decree in the darkened chamber. Baron Lant, now seated on a couch, struggled to fathom the implications of this unprecedented decision.
Your Majesty, Elasaria has never had a reigning queen.
The shock of it all, an uncharted course in the annals of royal history, left Baron Lant gasping in disbelief. Aldrich held the infant princess with an air of both solemnity and pride. When this girl becomes the first reigning queen, a precedent will be set in history. May all the splendor of the world shine upon this baby.
Many will object.
We must be pragmatic in how we publicize this information. Not until the time is right. We have to prepare slowly. Plans were already being set in motion in Aldrich's mind. My daughter will be intelligent. She will be skilled. She will dominate high society. She will command the army. She will recognize the strength of the sorcerers in Elasaria and take absolute control. There is much to do, my baby. Grow healthy and smart. His voice carried the weight of responsibilities that stretched beyond the horizon.
Your Majesty, do you intend to tell Rose?
Of course not. The words, spoken with a stoic finality, left no room for debate or dissent. The chamber, now immersed in a poignant silence, bore witness to the birth of an unconventional destiny, a destiny that unfolded in the shadowy corridors of royal power. The grandeur of the royal palace set the stage for a lavish celebration that spanned 3 days and 3 nights in honor of Aldrich's firstborn. Nobles and distinguished guests arrived with carriages laden with opulent gifts. The banquet hall buzzed with excitement as the crowd gathered, eager to catch a glimpse of the offspring of the admired king and queen, celebrated for their exceptional beauty. As the guests entered, their eyes fell upon the rumored Princess Beatrice, a sight that left them collectively impressed. The infant, a charming reflection of Rose, resembled a little fairy, captivating all who beheld her. Despite being born prematurely, the baby did not appear to have compromised her health. Admirers showered praises upon the newborn. "Oh, she is truly a beautiful baby."
Already so lovely. Your Majesty must be overjoyed.
"I've never seen a princess who looked so smart, Your Majesty." The well-wishers approached Aldrich, who cradled the baby with a protective demeanor, drawing involuntary laughter from the onlookers. Yet amid the jubilation, Rose reclined in a soft armchair, distant and dazed, observing the joyous scene unfold before her.
Am I the only one who is suffering?
The distance between Rose and her daughter, emphasized by Aldrich's exclusive attention, was palpable. The once warm and shared connection between them was gone, leaving Rose isolated in her contemplation. She stared at her daughter in Aldrich's arms and realized that she had only ever been in the same room with Beatrice for a few minutes. She looked around the room, sure that murmurs about the incident of the promissory notes circulated among the guests, accompanied by laughter. Acutely aware of the mockery, Rose placed her hands on her still swollen belly and pursed her lips.
Traitors?
The once supportive nobles, realizing Aldrich's apparent shift in focus, began to distance themselves from Rose. The whispers hinted at a deliberate separation orchestrated by Aldrich. Or was it orchestrated by Schuyler? Bronwyn? Rose felt as though she was going mad trying to keep track of those trying to keep her down. She sat up and began to walk through the party inconspicuously, with her head down. She listened in on conversations, trying to soothe her own mind and convince herself that it was just her anxious thoughts that were tearing her apart.
I never harbored any fondness for her.
In the end, she's naught but a commoner from a fallen noble lineage. Rose gracefully halted, her attention gravitating towards the shadows where the voices converged.
If they choose to discuss matters concerning me, they should at least do it where my ears don't bear witness.
Just then, Rose felt a gentle touch on her shoulder. She knew immediately who it was. It was the only person who treated her with kindness these days.
Do not allow such trifles to occupy your thoughts, Your Majesty. It's not worth worrying about. But Viscountess Amelia, how can I not worry when I hear them?
A sense of despair was settling within her. The world had changed after the birth of her daughter. While others revelled in a brighter and livelier existence, Rose's world had plunged into darkness. She found herself eclipsed. The baby garnered compliments, and Aldrich received praises, but Rose, the one who had brought forth the life, became a laughingstock. The baby, an extension of herself, should have been a source of joy, not mockery. The voices continued their speculative dialogue.
Who do you think will be the next queen?
Isn't it possible that Miss Schuyler will become the queen?
No way. His Majesty will not accept a commoner as queen twice.
The commoners seem to have no shame, even if they are smart. Just look at the Queen, who bragged about someone else's promissory notes. What nerve! Rose wanted to scold them, to lash out, but she held back. It wasn't fear that restrained her. Rather, it was the fear that any protest might extinguish the last embers of affection Aldrich held for her. The promised time as queen was 1 year. If she had birthed a boy, that period could have been extended, but now it was impossible. She had to remain as calm as possible until she found a way not to be cast aside. The uncertain fate of her position weighed heavily on her, and Rose continued down the corridor, navigating the treacherous path that lay ahead. Baron Lant entered Aldrich's chambers quietly, prepared to discuss something he knew was not quite his business, but that he knew was important to the health of Elasaria.
Your Majesty, I have something to tell you.
Is it urgent?
It's about the Queen.
If it's not urgent, we can speak about it later. Aldrich's change of attitude toward Rose was noticeable even to Baron Lant.
Your Majesty, I think you should be more attentive to the Queen.
Aldrich frowned as he pressed his tired eyes. I assign her the best doctors to take care of her 24 hours a day. The chef prepares her all the proper food for a woman who has recently given birth, and I fill her room with all kinds of gifts. What else am I supposed to do? Certainly, Aldrich gave Rose material things in abundance. However, no matter how much jewelry and good food he sent her, it meant nothing to her if Aldrich did not go to see her.
You haven't let the Queen be with the princess.
Very well.
Your Majesty, Queen Rose. An aide to the king brought the princess. Do you speak the truth, Amelia?
Rose turned to look at her lady-in-waiting, who was ecstatic as she held the baby, rushing to show Rose, who lay in her bed.
Your Majesty, look at her.
Rose got up at once. Her mood brightened, yet she couldn't fully embrace the joy.
My daughter.
Instead of reaching for her daughter, though, she merely clenched her fists. The moment of joy was followed by anguish, sadness, and grief welling up inside her. The baby was lovely, but she felt tormented as she remembered how her position had collapsed in an instant because of this baby.
Your Majesty, take the princess in your arms.
Viscountess Amelia tried to hand Rose the princess. Rose hesitated to hold her. But as soon as the princess began to cry from the awkward position she was in, Rose couldn't help but reach out her hands quickly and take the baby in her arms.
I'm sorry, baby. Mama's sorry.
Rose lightly patted the baby's back and rocked her. As Rose cradled her newborn daughter, a wave of emotions surged within her. Though this was not her first childbirth, it was the first time she had held a baby so close, so intimately.
Everything is fine. You are safe.
The baby blinked back at Rose, her tiny eyes brimming with tears.
You have to be strong.
Rose understood that the stakes were high. If she lost her position as queen, her daughter would be raised by another, possibly by a new queen, a young lady from a distinguished family. No matter how benevolent or angelic this hypothetical new queen might be, Rose knew her daughter would face potential rejection. The daughter of a deposed queen would always carry that stigma, regardless of her own merits. This moment marked a turning point for Rose. Her maternal instincts melded with her ambitions, fueling her desire to remain queen, not just for her own sake, but for her daughter's future. In Rose's arms, the princess's cries gradually subsided. The reason was unclear. Perhaps it was the comfort of her mother's embrace, or simply finding a more soothing position. But as the baby quieted, her energy seemed to drain away, leaving her seemingly lifeless. Rose gazed down at her daughter, a chilling sense of déjà vu gripping her heart. It was a haunting echo of the past, holding a lifeless child. Overwhelmed by terror, recalling the traumatic memories, Rose reacted impulsively. She was not to be dealt this blow. Not at this time.
No, you won't do this to me too. I gave you life, I can take it away.
She threw the baby away in a moment of blind horror, trembling violently. Her arms felt contaminated, as if tainted by death. She frantically wiped them across her knees and sheets, trying to rid herself of the imagined filth. The baby, now on the floor, wailed inconsolably. Rose, momentarily jarred back to reality, looked on with a vacant expression.
Oh my God! Is she alive?
Viscountess Amelia, remembering the fate of those who had previously crossed Rose, felt a surge of fear. Cheryl's punishment and the near execution of the maid's father were stark reminders of Rose's capacity for cruelty. The Viscountess realized the gravity of the situation. By witnessing Rose's volatile act, she had placed herself in potential danger. Rose, though currently in a state of shock, would likely act against her once she regained her composure. Viscountess Amelia, clutching the crying baby, stepped back cautiously, her mind racing with thoughts of self-preservation.
Viscountess? Answer me! Is she alive? Give her to me!
The Viscountess, caught between fear and duty, hesitated. Rose's bewildered and demanding voice echoed in the room, adding to the tension of the moment.
The baby appears to be fine, but she needs to be examined for head trauma.
With cautious words, Viscountess Amelia stepped back, cradling the baby, and quickly exited the bedroom. She then rushed down the corridor, her heart pounding with fear. She knew that if Rose's knights or maids were to pursue her, she would be in grave danger. Clutching the baby tightly, she made her way to the Eastern Palace, desperately seeking safety. Meanwhile, Rose, recovering from her shock and realizing that Viscountess Amelia had seen her throw the baby, panicked.
Viscountess Amelia! Bring her back here immediately! God, stop her!
Rose hurried into the corridor, questioning one of the knights stationed at the door.
Viscountess Amelia! Where has the Viscountess gone with my baby?
The knight, puzzled by her distressed state, pointed in the direction Amelia had fled.
She ran off in that direction with the baby in her arms, Your Majesty. Is everything okay?
Rose, turned white with fear and anger, quickly commanded the knights.
Catch that monster right now! That whore has kidnapped my daughter!
The knights exchanged glances, incredulous at the idea of the Queen's lady-in-waiting kidnapping the princess within the imperial palace. Yet, seeing Rose's distraught state, they hastily set out in pursuit. Meanwhile, Viscountess Amelia, carrying the princess, had already reached the safety of the Eastern Palace. The Imperial Guard knights, seeing her terror-stricken face, immediately offered assistance.
His Majesty, I need to see His Majesty right away. The princess is in grave danger.
The Imperial Guard knights, sensing the urgency, quickly informed King Aldrich. Upon hearing that Viscountess Amelia was approaching with the princess in her arms, Aldrich allowed her into his drawing room. As soon as she saw Aldrich, Viscountess Amelia, overwhelmed by emotion, fell to her knees.
Your Majesty, the Queen threw the princess to the floor. Please protect the princess. The Queen intends to kill her. The palace doctor hesitated, his eyes flickering with a mix of disbelief and excitement. Then, as if a dam had broken, his words tumbled out in a rush.
Your Majesty, you're pregnant!
His voice echoed in the room, the word pregnant reverberating like a profound spell. He rose to his feet, gazing at me with an intensity that mirrored the magnitude of his declaration.
Oh, Your Majesty! Oh, heavens! This is extraordinary!
His words hung in the air, but my mind was calm like a still lake, unrippled by his jubilant exclamations. I was caught in a limbo of disbelief and cautious hope.
Congratulations are in order, Your Majesty. You are with child.
I observed Henry's reaction. He was a picture of raw, unfiltered emotion, his fist clenched, as if to contain the tempest within, his other hand covering his mouth, a barrier to his overwhelming feelings.
My queen, I love you so.
He enfolded me in his embrace, a cocoon of warmth and love. Yet amidst the tumult of our emotions, a seed of doubt took root within me. Are you certain? The early weeks of pregnancy are often shrouded in uncertainty. Might there be a misdiagnosis? At my words, Henry's embrace loosened, a shadow of uncertainty crossing his face. The doctor responded promptly, eager to allay our fears.
It is indeed common to have doubts at this early stage, but I assure you, Your Majesty, my diagnosis has never faltered.
Memories of past experiences in Elisaria flickered in my mind, instances where joy turned to despair. I sought clarity, a lighthouse in a sea of uncertainty.
A final confirmation can be made with certainty in 2 weeks' time.
Then let us reconvene then. Until such time, let this news remain within these walls. The palace doctor's parting words echoed in my mind as he left the room.
But until then, you must reduce your workload and take more time to rest, Your Majesty. I am here if you need anything.
Once we were alone, I turned to Henry, my voice calm. Henry, don't tell anyone about this. There are people who would make fun of us for revealing that I'm pregnant without first confirming it. It was now that the realization dawned on me. It was fear and anxiety that gripped me, a fear of hope turning into disappointment. The mere thought of a misdiagnosis sent shivers down my spine. I found myself rubbing my hands together, a nervous gesture, my arms instinctively wrapped around my body, as if trying to hold myself together. The fear clung to me, a shadow that I couldn't shake off. Then, in a moment of vulnerability, Henry's arms enveloped me. His embrace was a sanctuary, a source of comfort amidst the swirling tide of my emotions. His warmth seemed to seep into my very bones, offering solace and strength. The days following the doctor's visit seemed to stretch endlessly, each moment laden with anticipation. Yet at night, when my thoughts inevitably drifted to the possibility of pregnancy, time seemed to race by, leaving me caught in a whirlwind of emotions. In our shared bedroom, Henry's embrace became my nightly sanctuary. His arms wrapped around me tightly. He was usually more playful, his eyes often alight with desire, but now there was a certain tenderness, a restraint that spoke volumes of his consideration for me. Remarkably, Henry refrained from speaking of the pregnancy or discussing babies. I sensed he was trying to spare me from feeling overwhelmed. His silence was a testament to his understanding, a silent support that I deeply appreciated. Nestled against his chest, I found solace in the simple act of stroking his chin and cheeks. It was a small gesture, yet it helped soothe the flurry of thoughts in my mind. The night before the scheduled follow-up with the palace doctor, I lay beside him, running my fingers through his hair. In a moment of intimacy, I loosened the knot of his robe and rested my ear against his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heart. The sound was a soothing balm, its beat a reassurance that, regardless of tomorrow's news, we were in this together. Lying there, I pondered how deeply Henry had become entwined in my life.
Are you all right?
Life can be so cruel. I can't help but fear the worst.
And throughout the worst we will endure it together, as we will the good.
The softness of the pillow, imbued with Henry's essence, lulled me into a peaceful slumber. In that tranquil space, between wakefulness and dreams, I found myself drifting off. My last conscious thought of Henry, of us, and the shared journey that lay ahead, regardless of what the morrow would bring. This night, with its blend of tension and tenderness, was a prelude to a new chapter in our lives, one that we would embark on together, come what may. The day of reckoning arrived, the sun climbing to its zenith as the palace doctor entered my chamber. His demeanor was grave, his expression etched with a solemnity that suggested how much the kingdom's future rested upon his diagnosis. Henry, ever the pillar of support, clasped my hand as the doctor prepared for the examination.
Your Majesty, I will need her hand momentarily.
Henry reluctantly let go, his touch lingering like a whispered promise of comfort. I focused on my breathing, trying to steady the rapid beat of my heart, which seemed to echo loudly in the silence of the room. Finally, the doctor completed his examination. He set aside his tools and bowed deeply, his next words carrying the weight of our shared hopes.
Congratulations, Your Majesty! There is no doubt that you are pregnant. You have a baby in your womb.
At his proclamation, a sob broke through the stillness. Turning, I saw Henry, his eyes brimming with tears. A look of unadulterated joy and relief etched on his face. Our eyes met, and in that moment, Henry rushed to my side, his hand seeking mine, his other arm wrapping around me in a protective embrace. The doctor remained silent, allowing this display of emotion. Strangely, my mind was a void, empty of thought, devoid of reaction. The doctor's smile faded into a look of confusion as he observed my lack of response.
I will leave you two to cherish this moment. You must take immense care of yourself. Instruct your ladies-in-waiting to be at your side at all times. Congratulations, Your Majesties.
It was only after the doctor had left, having given his final instructions, that my thoughts began to return. The reality of the situation slowly sank in, and a surge of disbelief washed over me. I felt an overwhelming urge to call the doctor back, to ask for another confirmation. The news, though joyous, seemed almost too surreal to accept at face value. The enormity of becoming a mother, the profound change it signified, left me grappling with a myriad of emotions. Disbelief, awe, and a nascent sense of maternal protectiveness. A baby inside of me? The notion seemed as vast as the sea, unfathomable and deep. A baby.
Seems like that beautiful baby eagle was our child, my queen.
It was lovely. I see it as a sign. We will have a child, Henry. At my words, Henry's face lit up with joy. He showered me with affectionate kisses, his happiness infectious. Suddenly, he scooped me up into his arms. My reflex was to cling to his neck. Henry!
Oh, my queen! We are going to have a child! I have never felt so much joy!
He peppered my face with kisses, then gently set me down on the couch, transforming into a jubilant, dancing bird. He was a stark contrast to the man who had maintained a respectful silence over the past 2 weeks. My child. The words felt sacred as they left my lips. a profound acknowledgement of the life Henry and I had created together. The thought of this child growing, developing its own voice, laughter, and place in the world was awe-inspiring. It was a dimension of existence I had never contemplated before. The notion of parenthood, once distant and abstract, now took on a vivid, tangible form. I placed my hands gently on my belly, feeling the promise of life that had been uncertain just 2 weeks ago. A life that would, in time, transform into a child. Our child. Tears traced paths down my cheeks, a testament to the overwhelming emotions that welled up within me.